Good evening, everybody. We welcome you all to the episode 6 of ECA APA Talks. I am Mansi Mehta. I am the ECA National Projects Coordinator and I am the Country Manager for Town for Kids. So I welcome all the participants. I welcome everybody to the most happening show of the week. We are starting with this week with the bang on ECA APA Talks. It is the first day of June. I'm sure everybody is hoping that this month is going to be very, very fruitful. And let us hope for the best. Everything um, comes back to normal slowly and steadily. And we all have to be very cautious and very, we all have to be very particular about what things do we do and while we step out, what all precautions and everything needs to be taken care of. So I welcome everybody once again. Before we begin with introducing the speakers, I would like to talk about something about ECA as well as APA. The Early Childhood Association is a setup with the vision that all the preschools, balwadis, NGOs, children's activity classes, parents, student teachers, media houses, companies that deal with children's product, in short, everyone connected to young children can all come together to advocate, discuss, learn and share, connect and bring about a change in the quality of care development and learning in early childhood in India. Association of Primary Education and Research is a vertical under the aegis of Early Childhood Association, which is a registered body. APER's vision is to work on quality enhancement in primary education through collaborative action between early years program and primary schools. Friends, it is always important for all of us to know that what is ECA and APER is all about. Many of you know, many of you don't. So it is the responsibility of the host to make you know what is ECA and APER. So now I take this honor to introduce the star speakers of today. So today we have with us, we have Ms. Tasneem Dohadwala, we have Ms. Hiran Bagadia, we have Ms. Ashna Shah with us, Ms. Parvani Dawar, Mr. Rushabh Turakia, and Ms. Pooja Jaiswal. So I am so happy to introduce all of them. They are the star speakers of today. I am just a host. So I welcome all of you on behalf of ECA, APER, and everybody who is watching us live on Facebook as well as on Zoom. Moving quickly, before I begin, I wanted to tell everybody, so when we were doing a trial session, Rushabh offered us a piece of chocolate because it's the first day of June. And Rushabh says that meetha khana to zaruri hai. We have that ad which goes on with Dairy Milk. So meetha to banta hai aaj. So let's hear to the sweet talks that everybody has got for all of us. And so we have Ms. Tasneem Dohadwala, the first speaker of today with us. She is an academician at Fazlani Law Academy Global. And the topic that she has chosen for today, the sweet topic. So everybody is going to have a sweet topic today. So the topic that Tasneem has for all of us is the power of provocations. Let us hear from Tasneem and what kind of sweetness Tasneem brings for us. So over to you, Tasneem.
Thank you, Mansi. Good evening, viewers. Thank you, Rusha, for filling us with all the sweetness, with all the chocolates that you served us virtually, though. But yes, good evening once again. And I'm going to be talking about the power of provocations. So provocations are not only confined to international curriculum. Provocations can be used across grades and across boards. When we start a unit, a theme, or a topic under study, it is important to know the prior knowledge of a child, what the child already knows, in order to move ahead with our unit and what are they wondering about. So provocations come in very handy at that point in time for a teacher to gauge prior knowledge, and more importantly, it helps the students to get curious and excited about the topic under study. They want to know more about what's going to happen and take place. So if I were to just put it very simply, what do provocations do? Provocations provoke. Now, what do they provoke? Remember QUITS, the acronym QUITS. QU stands for questions, I stands for interest, the other I stands for ideas, and T stands for thoughts. Let's move on. We've understood what is a provocation. Now let's understand the types of provocations. There are various types of provocations that you can plan in a day-to-day scenario. It all depends also on your topic under study. But to very simply put them, it could be specimens from nature, objects, artifacts, movie clippings, video clippings, images, guest speakers, field trips. That's what could be a kind of provocation that you could have set up in your classroom. These are just a few examples. Next, let's understand how to set up a provocation. We've looked at what is a provocation, different types of provocation. Now let's look at how to set up a provocation. So remember SRC. S stands for space. Identify the right space to set up a provocation. R, resources. Gather your resources to set up a provocation. And C, create. Create an environment that is stimulating, that leads to wondering, questioning, thinking for the students. Let's move on. So I'm going to share some examples as to how you can set up a provocation, how to use a provocation in a classroom, tying it back to a subject discipline as well as a theme or a topic under study. For example, if you're taking a picture provocation. If you can see this picture closely, okay, this is a picture provocation that I'm sharing with you. Now, I just can't just show the picture and say, okay, what's happening in the picture? No, the students are not going to understand what's going on and why am I showing, why is my teacher showing me this picture? So I use a strategy called I see, I think, I wonder. This works very well with any picture provocations. This is
Tasneem, you have gone on mute. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sorry. It's because of the picture. So you pose the question to the child, what do you see in the picture? So they write down all the objects, everything that they see in the picture. What do you think is happening in the picture? They are now starting to make inferences. They start to hypothesize, moving away from understanding the objects to making inferences and hypothesizing. Next, they start wondering. What do you wonder? What is the question that's going on in your head as of now about this picture? And that's the key. We need children to question. If we want students to be lifelong learners, they need to start questioning. And the moment the kids are curious and they question, they will find answers. They will want to take ownership of their learning. So that is why the I see, I think, I wonder strategy works very beautifully with a picture provocation. Next, I have another picture provocation. If you can see this. All right. So I'm again posing a picture in front of the audience right now. And the strategy I'm going to use is the placemat strategy. It's very, very simple. You place a picture in the center, section your page into four parts, and you ask 4 questions. What do you think this is? What is it made up of? What could have it be used for? And what connections can you make? Have every child answer this either individually or in groups. Tell them it is not about the right and wrong. You can freely explore and experiment. It's all about your thoughts that have to be revealed. And finally, reveal what the actual picture is all about. So in this case, it is the X-ray of a bleached hair. Okay, so that is what the picture was right now. So that would help you to tune into a science topic if you had to teach that. Next, I'm going to share an example of how to use an object. So if you were to teach about, technology and communication, instead of saying, okay, today we're going to learn about technology and communication, we could have an old phone brought into the classroom, something which belongs to the yesteryears, which we don't see these days, which are easily available. You could bring the phone, leave it in the center of the class and have students, wonder about it. What do you think this is? Who might have used this? What is it used for? How is it different from what we're using now? And that's when you start talking about technology, communication, then and now. That was another example. If you're doing a unit under, geography, which is about earthquakes, something that really works wonders is a gallery walk. Have a silent gallery walk. What is a gallery walk? You set up exhibits in your classroom. There's no major prep required. You just need tables. Put different resources related to earthquakes. For example, newspaper reports. You could have pictures. You can have images of broken homes, the cracked ground, stuff like that. You lay down in the different parts of your room, and then tell the students you need to go around the room quietly, observe every picture. Make sure you do that in silence because it's a silent gallery walk. You come back to your seats, and then we have a discussion start. Once they are back, then you start asking questions. So what did you see? What does it make you wonder? How do you feel about this? Do you have any connections that you can make? Last but not the least, what is the connectivity? What is that thing which is common between all the exhibits that you saw? And bingo, you'll start tuning the students into your topic under study, which is earthquakes. It will take a lot of provoking and questioning, but yes, they do get there at that point in time. So I just hope this has helped you in understanding the power of provocations. I'd like to end with something that I have penned, a short poem about provocations. So here it is. A provocation is not an examination. It is a fun-filled exploration, an opportunity for effective communication of what we know and what we want to know. It helps to generate curiosity, enabling to gain a deeper understanding about the topic under study. The room to be set in a way the goal is met, where students enter a whole new world, putting on their thinking caps and in the sky of imagination fly like a bird. And if so, you will hear voices, some high, some low, a lot of chitter chatter, some interesting conversations, and some whispers and murmurs. Remember, when students observe, they start making connections, they focus and pay careful attention. They further want to know more as they are curious and will ask questions galore. So I just like to end with this poem. And the last thing, that the intention of a provocation is E squared. Please remember, helps the students to explore and express. So as much as possible, keep the provocation open-ended where students get an opportunity to explore and express themselves. Thank you. Over to you, Mansi.
Thank you so much, Tasneem. It was an enlightening session. Of course, there are speakers who have extremely, all the topics are fantastic because ECA APER Talks is about that. But in 7 minutes, it's very difficult to, comprise everything and put it across for the audience. But you choose the best points and you can share, you choose the best and share it with the audience. So thank you so much, Tasneem. Yes, we have been getting a lot of comments. Audio is not clear. So there was in between, the audio went on mute. And there are always some or the other technical glitches. So please pardon us for that. The video is going to be available on Facebook. We will be uploading on YouTube. If you all want to revisit the sessions that speakers will be taking, please feel free to have a check. Okay. So thank you, Tasneem. We move on to our next speaker of the day, Miss Hiran Bagadia. Hiran Bagadia is from Gujarat. Okay, so I forgot to mention Tasneem Dohadwala is from Mumbai, Amchi, Mumbai. And Hiran Bagadia is from Apdu, Gujarat. So let me introduce her like that. And Hiran is the director of Balaji EduServe. And she's also the territory head for ECA Vadodara. The topic that she's going to talk and the sweetness that she's going to bring to the topic is how language develops in children. Mitti Jaban Chokraoni. Right? So over to you, Hiran, and let's hear from Hiran.
Thank you, Mansi. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Good afternoon to everybody present here on the ECA APER Talks. Now, the topic, as Mansi said, it is very sweet because it is about language. And when you speak sweetly, you are the apple of the eye of everyone, right? So let's see how the language develops in children. Right? So Lev Vygotsky, a Russian psychologist, he mentioned the child begins to perceive the world not only through his eyes, but also through his speech. So language and communication, these are the two critical areas for the child's development. Language is the main vehicle of interaction, and it is a determining factor for each of them in the development of mind. So why do we need this language? It is for good communication, able to engage in socialization, understanding the instructions in my formal classroom and my environment. Now, what are these words, communication, speech? Why do we need all these? Communication involves both speech and language, right? So speech is the verbal communication, it's a verbal means of communication. And language is the shared rules to put the words together to express the thoughts and the feelings. Now, since parents are the child's first teacher, so the knowledge of language development in a child improves when the parents' ability to interact with their child, how to stimulate them, to guide them to understand. Later, they come to school. Now, first, let's understand the four main components of language, not necessarily in the same order. Okay, so I have put it up as a nice acronym. It's called GRASP. So GRASP, G-R-A stands for grammar. So grammar is, it's divided into two parts. It's a syntax as well as a morphology. So when I say syntax, it is the rules in which the words are arranged into sentences. And morphology is like the tense, the voice, that is the active or the passive voice that you use. Then S stands for semantics. That is the how a sentence, how what are the words that you use when you are expressing yourself in a sentence. P, there are two P's here. One is the phonology. Phonology is the sequence of speech sounds in a word. And pragmatics. Pragmatics involves the rules for appropriate and effective communication. That is, if I am greeting somebody, so there is a particular way of saying it. If I am talking to, there are rules that there are ways where you change the language for talking differently depending upon who it is. All right. Now, from birth, children are programmed to develop speech and language. So they must develop their receptive as well as expressive language. So what is this expressive language? That is the words that children use when they talk. And receptive language is the words that children can understand, although they may or may not use the words that they speak. So what an adult speaks in an environment and the child understands, that is the receptive language. So we know that the first 5 years of the child are the most critical for language development. It starts from that infancy level and continues to the early childhood, to the adolescence. So during the first 5 years, the stimulation of language development is very, very important, right? So initially, if you see a baby when, an infant, so what are they doing? They're in the pre-linguistic stage when they're babbling and cooing, right? Then they move to the holographic stage when they're using just one word sentences. So they may say mama, papa, dudu, just one word. They later move to telegraphic sentences. So here there are very short and simple sentences like mama come, papa office, like that. So they omit the function words and the endings that contribute little to the meaning. Then as they enter the preschool age, now they are trying to understand the grammar, the use, the rules of the language, and they try to communicate and express themselves better. So now what can we do to ensure that, we are stimulating? So first, there's a direct way and there is an indirect way. I would like to talk upon the indirect way, that is for the teachers. You can use this even during the lockdown. So I have put this as speed. Okay. So speed. Now the first one, S, that is self-talk. All right. Now what is happening over here? The teacher is talking and explaining what she is doing and why she is doing. So I'm cleaning the table now because it is almost time for snack, right? So what is happening here? The child is listening to you. Okay. So this is the indirect way of helping them improve their vocabulary. Second is the parallel talk. P. P stands for the parallel talk. So parallel talk is what you talk as a teacher, focusing on what the child is doing, connecting their action to words in the form of complete sentence. All right. So I can say it as, you have a red shirt and you have put two ponytails. Wonderful. You look really nice. Oh, I see you are digging a deep hole in the sand. Wonderful. Okay. So that was P. E stands for expansion. So I know that we all know that children have limited vocabulary, so they may speak to you in telegraphic sentences or just in hollow phrases. So what do you have to do? Expansion. E stands for expansion. Both the E stand for expansion here. So expansion is an ideal strategy to use with children who are learning to put the words together to express more complex ideas. So the teacher, if you ask as a teacher, so what are you drinking? So the child may say, I'm drinking milk. So as a teacher, what you can say, oh, you like you're drinking milk. Have you added some, some Bonvita in it? Or is it sweet? How is it looking? Right? So that is how you, and the next one, D. D stands for description. Okay, so if the child is focusing somewhere or looking over something, so you can say, oh, you're looking at how Rohan is building a tall tower, right? So these are the indirect language stimulation. Now, what are the direct language stimulations? It is storytelling. You can use nursery rhymes. Wonderful when you use nursery rhymes, especially when there are repetitions in your language, in the songs. It can be songs that children love to use. Cooking is a good idea where you're talking about weighing, measuring. You can even teach them about the uncommon spices that you are, using while you're doing the cooking. Construction toys, it gives an opportunity for children to use about shape, size, colors, right? You can have activities like dressing up. children love to pretend to be somebody else and new vocabulary in their imaginative role. So imagine the amount of vocabulary that is improving in the child. You can have touch and feely bags. So this way it encourages children to describe the objects. We can also have sand play or the sensory play. So where they are touching and they are telling about the different textures and sizes and all of that. You can have fun with paper plates. You can make different things out of paper. You can make origami with the children. It is fun for them. So they are following your instructions. They are learning to understand what you're saying. Right. And the last point that I would say is fantasy play at home. Please do that with the children. They really love that. Thank you, Mansi.
Thank you so much, Hiran. I'm so sorry I had to, so just for the audience to know, every speaker is so excited to share everything with all of you. So I am the timekeeper for them. So I keep on popping when there are 3 minutes remaining, 2 minutes remaining. So sorry for the distraction. Please pardon me for that.
It's absolutely fine. I think I reached the last spot and
yes.
time up.
So it was a wonderful session again. So I have a request for Tasneem and Hiran. While you are listening to the other speakers, there are certain comments which will be coming for you, or there are certain questions in the question answer section. If you all have, just gone through, you can maybe type your answers and give it to people so that it will be easier to answer simultaneously. Like Hiran mentioned one acronym also. So, you can just type it in the comment and share it with all attendees and panelists so everybody gets it. So we don't have to wait for the end of the session.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Hiran. We move on to the next speaker of the day, Miss Ashna Shah. Miss Ashna is consulting clinical psychologist at Empower founder at ASA Mental Health Organization. The topic, should I say it's sweet topic because we are focusing on sweetness. So yeah, let us focus on sweetness. That's okay. So her sweet topic for today is building resilience for students and teachers. Indeed, it is a sweet topic. So over to you, Ashna.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A big thank you to the speakers before this. They have set the bar just way too high. The topic I'm going to be speaking about is building resilience in teachers and students. It is first important to understand what is resilience. It is the capacity to recover from difficult life events. It is our ability to withstand and bounce back and grow despite a setback. Just for a moment, if I ask you all to imagine snowfall outside your window, you will be impressed to see how snow clumps in the branches, building a forest of white. Now imagine when the branch is feeling overloaded. What will the branch do? Nature has a beautiful solution for this. The branch will gently bend, relieving itself of its weight. The branch, we can say, is practicing resilience, my friends. Nature has the same built-in mechanism to ensure that things survive. Resilience is a skill that can fortunately be learned, and through a process of neuroplasticity, our physical brain can change to reinforce resilience. Now, if I have to come specifically to teachers, just imagine the world of a teacher. Imagine the first day a teacher enters a classroom. It's full of uncertainties and challenges. She's just finished a class wherein she comes to know her colleague has called in sick, so she has to fill in her class. Suddenly, she realizes that one of her children is really feeling unwell, so she quickly has to go and call the nurse. These are just few things that happen in the classroom. Now, if we look at today's situation, look at the COVID situation, what's happening? Teachers are thrown into Zoom meetings, they have to upload documents and whatnot. And believe me, there was very little training that the teachers found for this kind of work. To tell you honestly, I feel academic training would be a very little help. I feel teachers need skills development. For teachers, I have identified 5 pillars that they can rest their development of resilience on. The first pillar is self-awareness and acceptance. Stress, burnout, loss of appetite, weight gain are all factors that teachers feel sometimes. But what do? They push it under the carpet. Teachers, if awareness is there, we will know there is a problem and we can work towards it. What I would recommend is starting writing a journal and reflecting on the day. It really helps a lot. The second thing that I would say, or the second pillar in this case, would be nurturing relationships. So teachers, I feel, with children, with parents, with everybody, it is very important to develop an ecosystem. to help in a crisis situation, and to know that you are not alone. And this will really help you build your resilience skills. The third very important one is play and create. We always feel play is for children. Not really. Play helps you unlock inner resources for dealing with stress. It can improve problem solving, develop different perspectives. Play isn't as important for teachers as it is for children. Coming to the fourth pillar, self-compassion. Developing self-compassion guides us to build an attitude of warmth and kindness towards ourselves. This stops us from being critical in an adverse situation. There's a tool that I tell a lot of my clients to use is whenever you're feeling very critical of yourself, what advice would you give a friend? This question really helps a lot. Give the same advice to yourself. Believe me, it will make a lot of difference. Coming to the fifth pillar, gratitude. Having an attitude of gratitude is very important. Teachers, we sometimes don't appreciate our efforts and don't appreciate ourselves. For this also, I would recommend that whenever you're feeling low and down, just go for a walk. I call it the gratitude walk. All it requires you to do is just step down, look around. Start appreciating things that you see, the nature, the people, the things that you look around. Even small things bring a sense of a lot of warmth and support inside. So teachers, please try thinking about all of these 5 pillars, and when they all come together, they really will make you very resilient. Now coming specifically to students. First and foremost, I wish to tell the parents to stop shielding their children from all problems. I have a phrase to say here is, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish, you feed him for life. Resilience skill does not mean that students will not feel the pain or negative emotion. It just means that they will focus more on a solution-based approach. For students, I've identified 2 very important skills that will help them build resilience. First is emotional awareness. Society only identifies 2 emotions, happy or sad. Complex emotions like feeling upset or feeling very difficult, these emotions are not spoken about. I would recommend schools to take up social and emotional learning activities. They really help children to be aware of their emotions and they can express it and talk about it. The second very important one is building personal resources. What are personal resources? Things, places, people, or memories of these things. They symbolize a sense of calm and strength for an individual. For example, I've heard a lot of people telling me that whenever I go for a drive, I feel very calm. Or when I go for a shower, I can think clearly. Take my example. In moments of uncertainty, I would feel very calm on the swing of the balcony. Even the mere memory of it is sometimes enough to calm me down. Students with their parents should develop multiple such resources like the parents' room, the garden, corners in the house. This will help students to tap on these resources when they are faced with adverse situations to once again feel in control and confront the problem at hand. Let me end with a metaphor. The Japanese art of kintsugi, which means to join with gold, is a crafting method that consists of assembling broken pieces of an accidentally smashed pot together with golden lacquer. This teaches us an important lesson. Like the broken bowl, our life sometimes feels broken, and how we all should just polish ourselves in times of adversity and make a comeback, just like the broken bowl, and become as unique and as beautiful. Finally, I would like to say, let's all find our meaning in our adversity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Ashna. I think I lost in your session, so I forgot I had to switch on my mic and my video. So I was like looking at you and I was listening to you and I forgot. So, so it was a very engaging session as well. We are getting a lot of comments for all of you. So please read the comments in the comment section. Sure. And it was great listening to you, Miss Ashna. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mansi. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. We have the next speaker of the day. So Miss Ashna is from Amchi, Mumbai again. The next speaker of the day, we have Miss Parvani Dawar. She is the headmistress of the Shishukunj preschool, and she is the territory head for the Indore chapter of ECA. Parvani and I share a different bond altogether. We've never met. We're just seeing each other virtually since day one. And being from the ECA family, all of us are from the ECA or APER family. The first time I spoke to Parvani was on a call due for solving some technical issues for her session at Indore. And since then, I feel as if I'm a friend, a long lost friend of hers. So, Parvani, thank you for making all of us feel so comfortable when we are talking with you as well. So, Parvani is today going to talk on a sweet topic of play is the work of a child. It is, of course, in continuation to a topic which Miss Ashna also mentioned about, play. And she also, so I'm sure Parvani will be able to connect her topic with that as well. So, over to you, Miss Parvani.
Thank you very much, Mansi. And what you said is indeed true. So I'm not a very technical person, and whenever I get stuck, I just call Mansi, irrespective of the fact that we have not met and all. So thank you for that. And I would say to all the panelists, and congratulate you for bringing in so much perspective to such important topics which are on our minds. So you have all got so many perspectives. I have so many takeaways from the co-panelists here. And I'm here to talk about play. Play is the work of a child, as Maria Montessori famously said. Even Frederick Froebel, when he first set up the first kindergarten in Germany, way back in 1836, if I'm not wrong, he had no idea that he has invented an ideology, an approach to education that is going to be valued. It will address the needs of the 21st century. That is play, learning through play. Well, all of us know that children need a balanced diet to grow. Children need to study various subjects where they're in school, so that the different parts of their brain is activated. Similarly, for children to become well-rounded individuals, they have to engage and indulge in diverse types of play. Now, nowadays, in the situation we are all in, what is the play going on for children? Children are doing a lot of physical play, maybe at home. They are maybe, doing pretend play, role play. Another very important part is they are spending a lot of time playing with the cell phones, the computers, the iPads, and the tabs. So what is this? This is a digital play which has newly emerged in the context of the situation the children are put in suddenly. And we as educators and parents, we have to ensure, we have to scaffold them that in this digital playground, the engagements which children have are very meaningful and developmentally appropriate. Now, how do we do that? There are three essential parameters as per my understanding. The first one is how you review and select high quality digital resources. So at home, when as a parent, when we want to buy a certain kind of a book for a child, certain kind of a resource for a child, we try to understand what is the content of in that book. Will it be appropriate for my child at this age? In school, when we are planning a structured or an unstructured play environment, we consider that is the resource supportive? Will this play lead to some kind of critical creative thinking? Similarly, when we are when our children are subject to some kind of a digital resource, we have to ensure that the content is appropriate age-wise for the child. We have to ensure that the content, it provides a lot of opportunities for creative and critical thinking. It should provide development of language skills. It should provide, encourage social emotional development also. For example, if a child has suddenly developed a curiosity for dinosaurs, it is a good idea to show the child a video of dinosaurs, because the video will suddenly transport the child into prehistoric times, and the child can learn various species of dinosaurs or whatever that interests. Another example could be that Bob the Builder. So if a child is watching a video of Bob the Builder, later on the child might use his blocks or other resources which are available to do construction. So that is the importance of selecting and reviewing high quality digital resources. The next is to strike a balance. Like we do it in other plays also. You can't let a child go on and on with a particular type of play all the time. It is always a good idea to balance it. So we can't leave digital play out of the whole thing. You have to allow children to indulge in a digital play. As I say that, I also insist on the balance part of it. The third part is quality interactions. So, when your child goes to the park to play, for example, in a normal situation, you want to know what are you going to play in the park, with whom will you play, how much time will you play, when will you come back home after you have finished playing. Similarly, when a child is involved in digital play, you have to understand that you have to involve yourself. Is the child interacting with a sibling or with a parent or with his friends, or the interaction has to be there. We have to stop using digital play as a babysitter. We have to stop using it as a reward. We have to understand its importance, and we have to make it meaningful for them. Certain examples of apps which we can all use for our children is that there are a lot of story apps which is available, where you can where a child has to select a picture and a child has to write some text with it, and then they can create their own stories. That is language building, that leads to creative thinking. There are many draw and tell apps where children have to draw anything they would like, color it, choose a pin. So when they are, using a stylus or touch screen, they're also developing a lot of their pincer grips, their fine motor skills there. There are a lot of music apps where, there are sing-along songs and rhymes, even apps where children can compose their own music. Coding apps is something which it leads to high order thinking skills. It develops math in children, problem solving skills, data representation. So again, digital play in itself, if it is used and if it is monitored in these three manner, it leads to a lot of meaningful engagement for our children. To conclude, I would say that children play. They learn and grow through play. That is what they do. And digital play and the digital playgrounds are here to stay. So as adults, it is upon us how we embrace this opportunity and how we embrace this entire opportunity which we are getting from our children to make it worthwhile for them. Because undoubtedly, play is the undeniable right of a child, whether it's in a lockdown situation or whether it's in a normal situation. So as per the situation, since children have started to adapt, the onus is on us how we adapt and ensure that they get more meaningful situations. And of course, needless to say, the play policy of ECA has amazing insights and pointers where we can pick and implement in our further interactions with children. That is all I had to say. Thank you, Mansi. Over to you.
Thank you, Parvani. It was again an indeed brilliant session. Please read for your comments in the comments section and the question answer box in case if there is any comment for you, any question for you. Please answer so that people will not, the session is right now fresh in everybody's mind, so they will take it as you write it over there. So we move on to the next speaker of the day. The star, the only man we have on our panel today is Mr. Rushabh Turakia. With Rushabh, I have my memories way back when he used to take parenting workshops and student workshops, and I met him for the first time in Podar Pavai, if I'm not wrong, a few years back. And he had, so he had come there, and since then we are in touch. And he's, for me, if I have to think about Rushabh, I only think about kindness. Rushabh is equal to kindness. That's equal for me. And Rushabh will not deny, anytime I read any quotes on kindness, whether it's Facebook, any family has forwarded to me, anything, a simple quote of kindness, it reaches Rushabh first. on his personal WhatsApp. So that's how I have my connect with Rushabh. And something about kindness, I'm sure the sweet topic, the chocolate boy of the day, is going to focus on the kindness, and that is his favorite topic. So over to you, Rushabh, and I'm so happy to have you with us on panel today. So let's hear from you. You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I was told between all this lovely ladies around, will I get the chance to speak or not? So I was on mute. Okay, thank you so much, Mansi, and thank you for all those kindness quotes which you keep sending whenever you get it. Okay, let me start with generally when I go to schools and colleges, and especially primary section, secondary section, when I interact with teachers, I interact with parents, the first question comes is, especially from parents, it's like, what values of life should we teach? Which are the important ones? Because when I was given the chance to speak over here, and I was like, I can't talk about anything but kindness. I mean, it's like nothing but kindness, because that's the only topic I know. So, generally the values of life, which are honesty, forgiveness, respect, cooperation, kindness, and compassion. For me, I think teaching your child or teaching your student compassion and kindness, I think that covers everything. When a child is compassionate or he's kind, but naturally he's honest, but naturally he's forgiving, but naturally he's respectful, but naturally he's cooperating. So, these are being compassionate solves all your problems. And it is contagious. If you see, if I'm helping someone right on the road, even if the third person is watching me who doesn't even know me, or the person whom I'm helping, it even affects them. Even they go back home with a smile. Sometimes we also forward those videos on WhatsApp, which are kindness videos, very good, positive videos. Why we forward? Because we loved it and we forwarded. It's like that, because it's contagious. It takes you away. So now parents ask me, like, which is the easy way to do it? So that's where I have come up with this beautiful card. It's called Your Turn Now. You can see Your Turn Now. It's basically a simple card which says, someone did a little nameless act of kindness that touched your heart. Now it's your turn to multiply this feeling. Be there for someone and pass on this card. So this card, when you are kind to someone, you pass it to them. When with the kids, when you give them star on their hand, when you give them something, actually they feel nice. It's like, so this is the card which I generally give in schools when I go and give lecture over there. I do the kindness workshop with them. This card, it keeps on moving. The first card which I gave was in December 2009, more than 10 years back. And as of now, more than 500,000 cards are out in 46 countries. And it has been moving across. I have this card in English, then I have it in Hindi, Abab Ki Bari, then I have it in French, German, Spanish, Mandarin, the international 10 languages. It is available, because depending on the country which calls for, I send it accordingly. So the point is very simple. When you are with your child and you have this card and you do an act of kindness, and you ask them, let's do this act of kindness. See, to teach kindness is best way is to, you do it with them. Like, say, right now in the Corona times, if you want to do kindness, like what you can do sitting at home, like you can donate to a charity, speak to your child what you're doing. You can do something with the people who are, say, senior citizen in your building. Go and help them. Take your child, if you don't want to take your child along, but at least let them know, what all things they are doing. Because any child is going to learn from you by observing you. If you keep on saying, you be a good child, you share, you're supposed to share your toys, you're supposed to share your books, they're not going to listen. But if you have put up that benchmark of sharing things with people, donating things, then they are going to do that. And that's how they will learn. And in fact, while giving, they will also be showing gratitude. That this, because they are going to do. Same thing in the schools, what we can do is, especially what I do with pre-primary. With pre-primary, what I do, because they're too young, like 4, 5, 6-year-old max. So what we do is we ask them to do a kind act within the class. I give one card, and I give them that within 10 days, those 20 students should do one act, to his one of the friend in the class, and they pass on the card. That's how they learn. And when I talk to them and they come up with amazing ideas, sometimes even I am shocked, like, they are also thinking. Like I went to one of the pre-primary section and I was told, like, what all things you can do. And the ideas which came up, like, this new student which has come, new friend which has come, I can show him where the washroom is. Then we should not push someone. We should be polite. We should be respectful to teacher. We should not shout. And if like the best one which I got, I always share is like, if Papa is watching TV and Mama is talking to her, take the remote and switch it off so that Mama can talk to Papa. So they all come with, they have amazing ideas. We just need to tap them and get them out. And with this card, I have seen, since it's been on more than 10 years, 500,000 cards out, I've seen kids love doing it. And that's how you, like with another school, what I did was, we had this Your Turn Now corner, wherein every child, every once a month, they will get a toy or a book, something which they have outgrown or they're not using it. They'll put in that corner. And then the school had tied up with a NGO, which they used to go and donate. So this child starts, and it should not be a once a year event where you just teach or have a talk on kindness. It should be an ongoing thing which should be there for every month. That's how your child will learn, and that's how they pick up. And this happens with both parents and teachers working on it. That's how we'll make this next generation a much better lot. Right now, we ourselves have not been kind to environment, and you see now what's going on, environment and nature is doing back to us. So it's for them, we need to do all these things. Very, very important it is. Also, for the kids, then I got this 2 books. If you can read, Your Turn Now 1 book and Your Turn Now 2 book. These are the books which have all real stories of how these cards have been used. So, any child about 3 who can you can read stories to, or till 99. There is no age limit, because there are stories of a 5-year-old, there are stories of a 16-year-old, there are stories of a 20-year-old and 70-year-old. So that how they have been using this cards. And the stories are in very simple English language, wherein it's not like a teaching thing with something, oh my God, this even I can do it. This even my 5-year-old can do it. Let's take them out. Let's do this. Let's do something with them. So this is how you can actually spread kindness. And when you instill kindness in them, that's the best thing I would suggest a parent should do in a child. Because I was talking to one of the educator, and one of the big educator in Bombay, and I was asking him that, he told me that, the 2008 debacle which happened, financial debacle which happened. Why? Because there was somebody up in top who was greedy. There's somebody top who was greedy, and because of that, the whole financial market around the world crashed. Now this is the reason where you need to teach people to be kind and compassionate. So that's how you, at this very age, I think every school and in fact, I was in a school once, and I came to know that they have every Monday, first lecture is about happiness and kindness. I mean, it's so important. Don't make it only a once a year event, make it a once a week event in every school. That's how your child will start learning and will have a better generation, a much needed, which is basically a need of an hour. And regarding what other things you can do is, along with this card, you can, if you see that a traffic policeman on the road, right now we are not going away, and you can give them bottled water, right? You can give them something to eat, you can give them something to drink, and you see their smile. Generally, we don't like them because they bribe us, right? But this is how it is. In the end, let me just wind up with one thing, that you can always give something, even if it's only kindness, but give. If not, over to you, Mansi.
So thank you so much, Rushabh, for a wonderful session on kindness. I would like to mention the way Rushabh took the session over, and he's been inspiring a lot of young children of our country. He is one of the most inspiring fathers as well. So recently, Rushabh's son, Vivan Turakia, has written a beautiful article for teachers. So the title is The Overlooked Heroes Vortex. So you can find this article written by Vivan on our ECA and APER Facebook pages. It's a wonderful blog, which is, it was shared by Dr. Swati Popat, was on her Facebook page also. So it's going on rounds. So I request all of you to inspire the young children of our country to, they have a voice. So Vivan has voiced out and he has written a beautiful article, and I would want all of you to please read that. So thank you so much, Rushabh. We move on to the next speaker of the day, last but not the least. I always feel
Thank
the
you so
person who
much.
goes the last is the best. So Pooja, this one's for you. Okay. During my session, I was also the last one. So I'm not saying I'm the best. Everybody is the best, but this one's for Pooja. So Miss Pooja Jaiswal, we welcome you. Miss Pooja Jaiswal is teacher at ASIS. She is territory head for Bhavnagar chapter for ECA. She is also the committee member of TIE. Over to you, Pooja. We would like to listen to you as teachers, as the torch bearers. It is something similar and connected to what I spoke about Vivan over here. Vivan has also mentioned something about teachers. So I would definitely ask Pooja, once your session is over, do read that. So maybe you, all of us can connect with that article as well. So over to you, Pooja, and we are eager to listen to you.
Thank you, Mansi ma'am. I think you have put the bar very high for me, saying the last is going to be the best. And after listening to all these eminent speakers, there is few left for me to speak. But let me tell you, Mansi ma'am, I am a huge fan of yours. The dedication, the way you work is really commendable. Then I would like to thank respected Swati ma'am for giving me this privilege to be on this platform and sharing my views. So as you talked about Vivan, now I'm also eager when the small boy has written, I definitely will go through it and read it. And as my topic says, teachers as torch bearers. Now, for a teacher, I think 7 minutes would not be enough to talk all about a teacher because it's more deep about a teacher. But before I commence my topic, I have a beautiful quote which I like to share with whenever I speak for teachers, that the teachers work for a cause and not for an applause. And I think this is very apt. Now, saying teachers as torch bearers. Why teachers are the torch bearers? Now, let me tell you that teacher is an English word, and in Sanskrit it is guru. Guru, who Guru is who removes darkness and takes the disciple from darkness to light and from ignorance to knowledge. This is what deep meaning of Guru is. So we, the teachers, are the torch bearers, the lighthouses. We are the leaders, and teachers are born with a difference. That is what I believe. We, the mother of all the professions. Now, let us acknowledge ourselves that are we teachers by passion or by profession? But I'm very sure that those who are listening here, being a teacher, a principal, a owner of any school, is definitely passionate about the contribution they are doing in the segment of education. A passionate teacher, I would also like to say that it does not only fill the vessel, but they ignite sparks as well and transforming each fabric, the very fabric of the society. I read a beautiful line somewhere that teachers have eyes at the back also. It was really funny, but I really love that facing the blackboard behind also the teacher comes to know kisne bola, kisne awaaz ki, that is the connect she has with the children in her class. Now, I would also like to say that teachers should be proud of themselves because we shoulder the responsibility of laying the foundation for the future generation of our country. We shape lives. We instill values, the moral values in the children. For example, I would like to tell you an incident in my class. कभी कभी मैं ऐसी क्लास में जाती for a humorous way, I just say that मैं तो थक गई. The student will stand up and say, "Ma'am, आप कैसे थक सकते हो? आप तो teacher हो." So this is the way they look upon us being a teachers. We are heroes in front of them. And sometimes, parents always say that even after from nursery to 10th standard, I have same kids coming across and parents will say, "Ma'am, तमें क्यों नहीं आप बोलो मैम तो आपकी सुनेगा अभी तक वो मेरी नहीं सुनता." You will feel so proud. There's a joy of teaching. A simple compliment in the class, a simple wish from a child, it really makes us happy. When I say about being proud, Let me tell you that in this critical and the crucial time of COVID-19, where we are suddenly with a stop, teachers were at home and she had to adapt the virtual learning, the virtual teaching for students. I think it was a little tough, and but being from getting away from all the odds, all the teachers had are giving their best. And I would like to say also that it is not that easy as it seems. It is not a cakewalk. एक video बना डाला and just put an activity. The teacher is so much into it, but then there is also a question that she's being judged. She's being judged for her appearance, she's judged for the accent she's speaking, the way she's looking. Maybe that she has been doing this so much throughout the years in her class. But I would always urge all the teachers right now that you have been doing this, taking your classes profoundly from years to years, coming with the best results and flying colors in your life. So don't give up. This is the time where I repeat my sentence that you are born to make a difference, and really you are making a difference. So for teachers, I could not sum up the teacher into 7 minutes, but then I wish to make an acronym. So I have made for a teacher. Let me start with the letter T, being thoughtful. Being thoughtful for our students all the time. Then the tireless efforts she puts to make the child study. Now, as I talk about the present situation, when I am home, every time I have a phone call any hour by the parents, by the students, the problem they are having, solving the queries. So the tireless effort she has. And then the best thing I like with the letter T I have put down is the tolerance at par. The tolerance power she has being a teacher. Then we have the letter E, which is the enormous love for her children. मैंने कभी कभी सुना है टीचर्स को बोलते हो कि मेरे बच्चे, my kids, they are my kids. मेरा क्लास ही मेरे बच्चे ऐसा नहीं करते, उनको ये नहीं आता. That comes within her, that मेरे बच्चे. Then A, always a learner. As the set example right now, she's trying to be, all the teachers are trying to be techno CV. They are learning the best to give the best to her children virtually also. Trying to make things in a simpler way, activities with fun that she connects with the children, and the children are happy. Then I have word C, the letter C, which is compassionate. This is also the more touching part of being compassionate, for the students in her class, like her own children. The connect which I mentioned earlier, the connect she builds with her students now at present staying home through virtual meets. Also, she's trying to make that connect. By seeing them also, you feel so happy. 2 days back, I just went to my school, and then it was like pin.
Pooja, you've gone on mute. Pooja? Pooja, can you hear us? Pooja, you're on mute.
Heart to teach. That all
We can't hear you.
brings in teaching.
Pooja, we can't hear you. Sorry to interrupt.
Tries. Am I audible here?
No, you're not audible.
No.
Now it's fine. Now you can speak.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah.
So the letter H, this is hard to teach. She teaches all within her heart. And like when you, the teacher explains something in the class or now or virtually, जब तक वो बच्चे को उसको नहीं लगता कि he's got it to the core, she will keep on, juggling, and she'll keep on thinking, हाँ जिसको समझ में नहीं आया, he is having a doubt. I have not explained properly, but she tries all her way and to make the concept clear to the children, and a heart full of love. This defines a teacher. Her heart is full of love for her children. E, enlightening souls. Enlightening all the souls, like through good, positive things in them, the moral values she teaches. I still remember my moral science teacher, the things she has told me, the all the possible values she has given me. Being after growing up, I still remember them. So enlightening souls of all the children she comes across, and are ready to help, reliable and responsible. Ready to help. Again, I would mention that even these times staying at home also, the teacher is trying all possible ways to help her children. And responsible. जैसे ही बच्चा स्कूल में आता है, the whole and sole responsible, it's on the teacher. Till the child reaches home, picnic में भी बच्चा है तो पूरा time, the teacher is like, my children are safe, they are with me. So that is all that love a teacher gives. So here I would like to say to all the teachers, be proud of that noble cause you are doing. And being a teacher, you are born a teacher. So it is a very, very good thing you are doing in your life. And this is what I can say for a teacher. As I said before, that I may be short in words to term teacher, but from my heart, I'm getting goosebumps, like, being a teacher for so many years, and the teachers listening to me maybe also feeling the same, that keep on doing. Don't let whatever the situation be, you have done great always, and with this COVID-19 situation, being at home also, you will do great. That is all I have to say, Mansi ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pooja. I'm really touched by the first comment that you made for me. It's all because of the blessings and that honor that Swati ma'am has given all of us. We all are here today. So everything, all the credit goes to her, nothing to me. So today I feel like a teacher over here. So I'm going to call everybody as Sweet Pooja, Sweet Parvani, Sweet Ashna, Sweet Tasneem, Sweet Hiran, and Sweet Rusha. So thank you for all the sweetness that we have spread today, along with kindness and other topics that we have spoken. And it was a great session. We started well in time. We are ending well in time. Any last comments if anybody would like to speak? We can start with Pooja. So I will just we will just have last comments and then we end the session.
Yes, thank you, Mansi ma'am. Like, I was really noting down with each of them said, starting from Tasneem ma'am with the E square, explore and express, then Hiran ma'am with her acronym of grasp, and Ashna ma'am, advice to self. That is advice you give, what you want to give to your friend, you give to yourself. That was really very nice. Then when I was listening the importance of play from Parvini ma'am, I just recalled childhood also. We have also grown up that way. And the very line I was touched by Rushabh sir was, kindness is contagious. This is, all I have learned through this session. Thank you all the eminent speakers of being here and enlightening us.
Thank you so much, Pooja, for briefing it up so well. We move to Parvani.
Well, I would also like to add to what Pooja ma'am said, that, it was so much learning for everybody. I have my own takeaways. But on a more thoughtful end, I would like to quote Alice in Wonderland, when she says that I wouldn't want to go back to yesterday because it was a different world then, So with lots of warm wishes and good luck to everyone for our way ahead. May we rise and shine to the occasion.
Thank you so much, Parvani. Beautiful quote. We move to Miss Ashna.
Thank you so much. I think I've had a wonderful time here listening to each one of you all, and with so much of clarity and so many beautiful thoughts to take back. I just wish and I just hope that we all remember that every morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters the most. So keeping that thought in mind, let all of us influence everybody we know in a positive manner. That's all that I want to say. And thank you so much for having me here.
Very true. I completely second Miss Ashna about what she said. Over to you, Miss Tasneem.
Thank you very much once again. It was a pleasure to be a part of this platform and to listen to such eminent speakers, so beautifully put. I mean, every word, everything said. I'd just like to end with one quote by Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I learn, involve me and I remember. I think all of us as teachers, parents, anybody for that matter, we all need to just go by this. And I think life is a beautiful learning journey always for everyone. And even for us for that matter, So good luck with everything and good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Over to Mr. Rushabh.
Thank you very much. And you never told me you were going to ask me last question. Okay, I have only 3 things to say. Okay, for me, 3 things are very important. First is being kind. Second is being kind. Third is being kind. So you be kind, be kind, be kind. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's what I've been telling you. We all can identify you with kindness only. So everybody is going to tell you kind uncle, not king uncle, kind uncle. So be ready for that. Okay, last comments from Hiran, please.
Yes, thank you so much. I think what ECA and APER does, they are pillars to us. They help us provoke a lot of thoughts. And yes, I think they make us better teachers and better human beings. So, that way we are spreading kindness. So thank you so much, ECA and APER, for having us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you all the speakers. Thank you all the attendees. And stay tuned. We will be coming up with episode 7, same day, same time, with other speakers. So have a good evening, all of you. And it was honor to be on the same panel as a host with all the speakers. So thank you so much and have a great evening ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.